Hello everyone, and welcome to A Talk With. I'm here today with Chelsea. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Chelsea, and I am a voice actress from Ireland.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell from the accent, of course.
Oh well,
But
it's kind of a given.
yeah, it's nice to have you on the show. It's great to have you here. How are you doing today? You all right?
I'm good, really good. It's been a very active day
Mm,
because I had a audio release today, and I've also been recording a few bits and pieces. I've had to step in as
mm,
a character that was very, very different from what I am. So we had to change, like, basically he was a guy.
mm,
So I
mm.
had to step in last minute because unfortunately they couldn't make it. So changing like all the pronouns from he to she and oh, it was wild funny whenever it happened, but we always have these little blips. We just kind of roll with
Yeah.
punches in it.
I mean, like, kind of talking about that, because, like, you work with TT Productions as of recent,
Hmm.
and many people, but with TT Productions, I've been a part of a few of their productions with you in quite a
Hmm.
lot of them. And one of the main things they do is they get everyone into a call. What's it kind of like
Hmm.
working like that? Because you've also worked with Connor, obviously, I've seen audios, and he kind of does it, send in your lines.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, that's how he does it. So what's it kind of like working with the two different, ways of doing it?
Well, see with Connor, he was the one that started me into the whole thing.
Mm,
So basically, my first character with him, because I was working on a short film
mm,
called Downloaded. So I was working with Daniel J. Patton at the time because we knew each other from going to tech together. And yeah, Connor literally texted me one day and was just like, "Hey Chelsea, do you want to try this out? I just want you to record like one little line just to say, 'Who are you?'" And that's
mm.
it. It's like a wee throwaway character. Fast forward nearly 6 years, and I am still looking. It's my longest running. Julia is my longest running
Mm.
character. And it did all start with just literally me recording on my phone in a quiet space and me just saying, "Who are you?"
Mm.
That's the way it all started off. And it's very weird because like that's what I
Mm.
was used to for like nearly 5 years. I was just used to just sending them in on my phone and my lines in, hope they sounded
Mm.
all right, hopefully everything was grand.
Mm.
And then now I'm with like I still work with Connor and I still send lines in. And with now I'm with TT Productions.
Mm.
And yep, they do things differently in TT.
Yes, they
And
certainly do.
we'll, we have a script read on Zencaster, which we try and get. No, we have the script read on Zoom, and we always try and get all together, try and get the whole
Mm.
cast. And if some cast can't make it, then we'll just have people like stand in and help out. But then whenever it comes to the actual recording, we record on Zencaster all together. We go scene by scene, or if we have like scenes that some people are have like shorter part in it, we try and
Yeah.
get them down first and everything. But we kind of work it chronologically as best we could.
I mean, it
And
really is efficient and it's really well handled by Abby and everyone involved, really. It really is a
oh
great way of
yeah,
doing things.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like see whenever it was a very different ball game whenever I joined because I was just like, what? You record together? How does this happen? What? And I was like, really, it was really different. It was very surreal as well
Mm.
because, like me, I studied performing arts and music theater for
Mm.
years at tech and uni. So, it was kind of like performing with people on stage. And it does help with like action scenes and really like really physical scenes that you have to do that it does really help to like, act and react with
Yeah.
another character that's right there really does help.
Yeah, because like
And
voice
oh, it's
acting
so
really
good.
does like take a lot out of you. Like it is more physical than people give it credit for.
Hmm.
Obviously I'm not really a voice actor. I've done a few, small roles here and there, been involved in a few small TT production stuff as smaller characters, but it was really interesting performing alongside you and just working with TT because I often see it from the production side of things, so it's kind of interesting seeing it from the voice acting perspective of everything really, and it is really it's difficult. It's not something a lot of people I know they'd find that it's kind of like reading a script and just doing your best,
Hmm.
but it's you've got to really get into character as much as you can, as much as you would while physically acting. I think that's the
Hmm.
main thing. And I think with how TT does it, I think it's a lot easier to kind of get into character, and because you're performing alongside others. At first, I was a bit intimidated because I'm working
Oh
with
yeah,
like
it's very
new
intimidating.
Chris Walker
Very.
Thompson. I mean,
Hmm.
I've been watching Chris Walker Thompson since I was God knows how young. But yeah, but it was really fun because of course I was in Scarlet Lost. That was
Hmm.
the first one I'd been called into, and of course you were as well. What was it like working on that one? Of course, because that was.
Oh my. That was the first audio that I didn't use my accent in. And that was very intimidating. So, like me, I sound like this. I'm wild country and wild Irish. But I had to sound very prim and proper whenever I was doing
Mm,
Scarlet Lost because it's very like, the way I like describe it is just like Bridgerton vampires. And
yeah,
that's where I got my inspiration just to be all fancy and proper
I
and
mean you
stuff
did
and
extremely
have
well,
the accent.
let's
Well,
say.
thank you. Thank you. I was very nervous throughout the whole thing. Very nervous. But that's one thing because whenever we did work together, me and you, it was good because we had that like action scene where I was just
Yeah,
like struggling with you. But that's what's
yeah,
great about doing it on Zencaster because we can act and react towards each other.
that was
And
very
that's why
helpful.
I've always said if you don't feel out of breath after you do like an action scene, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, and yeah, Scarlet Lost was very fun to be part of. It was it was I hadn't really went into voice acting before that. I hadn't even really considered it, but when I of course I wasn't going to refuse being in it. It was really fun. And then of course in a more recent one I had to do a Cockney accent for a short scene, which I hadn't done a Cockney accent before, so that was terrifying.
Oh,
I,
tell me
I
about it.
was just
Accents are always terrifying when
mm,
they're just completely different from your own.
yeah, I mean I was looking up like tutorials all day and like a few days prior 'cause I can't even remember like saying yes because I can't remember, and then like suddenly Cockney accent, and like it was really fun to do. And that scene was just a lot of great fun. I can't wait to see it. And of course Molly came out today, of course, which
Yes, it
I
did.
haven't listened to because it's only just come out, but I've heard
Hmm.
brilliant things about it. I've heard it's a real sad one. I've heard
Of
everyone
course.
involved was yeah, very sad by the end of the reading. What was it like working on that one?
Oh, see there, that Molly was my first character that I was cast in
Mm,
TT. And oh, honestly, I have like a connection with this character because she
mm,
speaks like me. Is Irish back in the day, but very back in the day, as in like, like having children out of wedlock and everything is still
yeah.
like shunned upon, still shunned upon today, really, in
Mm,
some cases. But with Molly, you just have like the innocence of that child, and then all of a sudden her just world just completely explodes. And
mm,
it was such a good project to work on because basically I've been kind of like trailing along with Abby. So whenever she writes something,
yeah.
she's like, is that something that Molly would say? And she doesn't have to do that anymore because she knows exactly how I sound, how Molly would say things. She even writes the scripts as I speak. So like, people be like, you're, I'm like,
Mm,
YOUR. Me, I'm
yeah.
like, you're YER, she does write it the way I speak, and I'm like, she just fully under like that. Molly is her baby. It's her creation. I just
Yeah.
voiced it and give it an image. But oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And with this coming out today, I was nerve wracked. I was so
Mm,
nervous for it because like this is really more of me if you can get what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah, I get
And
what you
it's
mean.
very like I just wanted to do justice
Yeah.
for the character and for what the
You've kind
character
of like
represents.
injected a lot of
Hmm.
yourself, your identity, your voice into the character.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that's those are sort of the characters I can imagine you can have the most fun with. Of course, this is a very
Oh
tragic
yeah.
kind of story, but the characters that you can kind of, because of course you can put a performance on, you can put like an accent on, do like all these different characters, but like I find that it's kind of like the characters writing wise, at least, that I can kind of put myself into a bit rather than writing like it's I imagine it's kind of the same with voice acting. It's like writing like it's another person, but when you get to kind
Hmm.
of put more of yourself into it, it kind of feels like your character in a way, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. If it's the same with
Oh
voice acting.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, and
It's like that's one thing. Julia with Overton audios,
mm,
like she literally, oh,
mhm,
like I love Julia, and I've been here for nearly 6 years, so it's obviously that I love the character. And then Molly's my first character in TT, so
mm.
they just both have a special place in my heart, and I'm like, oh.
I mean, for anyone who hasn't really checked out Overton, which if you're on my channel, I'm surprised you haven't. Like, genuinely check it out; it's so good. But I mean, how would you kind of introduce Julia to someone who hasn't kind of been introduced to the character yet? So I think she's a great character and, written so well, but
Mhm.
kind of and acted so well by you. It'd be great to kind of you know, more people to check out Overton because they deserve way more subscribers than they have.
Oh yeah.
Genuinely, like it shocked me how little they have because like compared to like some of the other audio shows, because
Mhm.
Connor puts in so much work
Here,
and
I don't know how he does it. He is literally like a working script
mm,
machine. I really don't know how he does it, but like Julia, because like in the first time you see Julia, she's a very naive person.
mm,
But then once you listen, you get to learn more and more and more. And then obviously with the Crimson Hunter series, I
mm.
try not to spoil too much. She really is a badass. She is an
Yeah.
absolute badass. And honestly, I love her. And I just wish, like everyone else loves her as well, because
Mm.
I love this character so much, but she goes through a lot, bless her.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know
all the
why I
best
always get
characters do.
characters that go through a lot.
Mm.
Hmm.
I mean, what's it kind of been like playing that character for as long as you have? Because I imagine, with characters like Molly, while you've been able to inject yourself into quite a lot, with characters like Julia, it kind of lasted your kind of like your journey has been, Julia has kind of been a constant in that. So what's it kind of
Hmm.
been like, without, obviously spoiling any future for Julia and whatever's to come, kind of like what's it kind of been like having her and that character there throughout your voice acting journey?
Like, like I said, Julia was the one who started it.
Mm,
I started off very inexperienced. I remember having my phone telling everybody in my family to shh while I was sitting there either in the kitchen or my bedroom, in my granny's house, just sitting here recording into my phone.
mm,
And for me, it was just like I was given a blank canvas. I just had to fill in the
mm,
dots, you know what I mean?
mm,
And for that, the character, she just grew on me, completely grew on me. And then, like, obviously, throughout the story, she does grow in her confidence,
yeah.
but she has had the moments where she has tugged on my heartstrings. And if you hear, just a wee FYI, if you hear any audios of me or my characters crying in Overton audios and TT Productions, I am actually crying. I don't know what it is.
Mm,
It's not that I can never cry on command. This is just like pure utter emotion. So all the sniffles, all the that's all me. That is real. That's me getting emotional. And I know
mm.
Abby is like, why do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know.
It's a part of the process. And I can cry on command. I'm not gonna do that now,
Oh, aren't you lucky?
although,
Ooh.
but yeah, and I don't know how. I don't know how I can. It's just one of those things. Yeah,
Should be a
but
voice actor. Do you voice acting?
yeah, that's one of the things that I definitely had to fit into my I might
You do.
have to
You
go
have the skill for it from working with you, from you
on.
not knowing, what to do. And then I was just like, right, Razmataz, just stand up. This is a very action scene. Just stand up and just whenever I breathe, you breathe. We reciprocate when I calm down, then you calm down. It's all about like I didn't really have a lot of people to like teach me because I didn't really know many people who were
Yeah.
voice actors at the time.
Mm.
And now I've met a whole entire community of these people, and I'm
Mm.
like, whoa, there's others out here. What is going on?
I
And
mean,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
you did actually get the chance to meet them in person, of course. You met the TT lot
Did.
recently, and you met of course you've most definitely met before, but you also met Connor and Aidan and Dan that lot at the party. Of course,
Hmm.
you knew Dan before, but
Uh-huh.
you met them for the wedding as well. What was it like? Kind of was it the first time you've met the TT lot, or was there like some meeting beforehand? And what was it like meeting them in person?
See, I met Connor before. It was
Mm.
whenever It was whenever I started, it's a funny story. Whenever I started being Julia, I was on a school trip, well, a tech
Mm.
trip, and we always, every year, we always go over to, like, England. We'll go see a
Mm.
West End show. We'll all have fun like that, and
Yeah,
go
yeah.
around there. And then I was just like trying to organize with Connor and be like, here, do you want to meet up? And then obviously I got to meet him, and it was such a great opportunity. And it's in his monthly vlog. But one thing he realized in the earlier covers for
Mhm.
Julia and the cravat doctor,
Yeah.
the height difference is very off. And whenever he first met me, I just remember whenever we were walking closer together, he was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was getting
Yeah.
smaller and
He
smaller.
is
Because he
unfathomably
is
tall.
like, oh, he's over 6 foot something. I am
Mhm.
4'11".
I've
And then
never
he
met
even
him in
says,
person, but I've heard.
oh, I swear, like I do have many pictures of like him and me standing beside each other, and he's like, yeah, these covers aren't accurate. And I'm like, no. But yeah, meeting Connor is always a pleasure. I love the man. He's like a big cuddly teddy bear. I've always said that about him. And then meeting the TTers, I've met some of them before,
Mm.
but then I met them nearly all of them as a whole group a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And they always plan a July trip where they always meet up and do stuff. And we met
Mm.
up together, and oh, it was so fun. It
Mm.
was so good because I've met Abby before in person, and I've met James York.
Yeah.
I've met Zach Rosenfeld and Lauren Lee Hurst and David as well. So I've
Mm.
met a couple of them beforehand. And then so meeting the rest of them. So me, I'm the smallest T tier, and Matt Barrett, because I keep calling him Strax. He's the tallest. He's 6'4", and it is the height difference was just insane. But meeting them is like a whole different ballgame because you're like, oh my God, you're not 2D on a screen. You're actually in life in person. And then they realized how short I was, and I was like,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, I'm a short horse. I
No,
am.
there's definitely, a new sense like joy meeting people like you know over the internet or you've worked with on all the years. I mean, I meet a lot of people that I know through here on like the internet, on like Comic Cons and like places like that. I met quite a lot of them at BFI the other night, and I also met Sir Ian McKellen, which was quite a shock. He was walking in the street, and I ran
You
up to
lucky
him,
ducky.
asked for a photo, and all he just said was that he doesn't do photos, which is fair enough, and he just went
Yeah,
on
that's
his
fair.
way. It was quite surreal meeting him though for a few seconds. That
Even just
was
talking to somebody
yeah,
like face to face is like, wow,
yeah. And that
it's
was
so
complete
good.
chance. I mean, and met a few big Dot 2 faces there, which was a lot of fun. And it's always just unparalleled like nice feeling just about meeting people that you know but you haven't met yet. I think there's
Yeah.
yeah, it's lovely, it really is. And it looked like you guys had a lovely time on the vlog video that
Oh, it was.
yeah. And I mean
It was so good. It's like a bonding as
mm,
well. Like, because you talk to each other for a long time on
mm.
Zooms and working a lot of projects together. But when you actually meet them in person, it's just like, oh my God, can I give you a hug, please? It's just honestly, you get on with them from the minute you meet
Yeah.
them, and they are a wonderful group. They really are.
Yeah, I've had a few of them on this show actually. I've had James York and Abby on this show.
Oh,
They were
so
both brilliant,
talented.
absolutely brilliant and very talented and just yeah, they're both great people, brilliant people to talk to, and it was a pleasure bringing them on the show. And yeah, so another thing I wanted to bring up is that of course you have some directing work in future without like kind of spoiling any of the plot elements. What's it kind of like moving into that, world of directing? Because like of course you've voice acted and you've done many things for TT, but of course directing is a whole different thing. So what's it like kind of preparing for that and doing it even?
Terrifying. In the simplest terms, it is terrifying because
Mm.
this time next week, I will be directing my first project with TT, and it is R101. So it
Mm.
focuses on the history of the R101, and and I need to do more research about that.
Mm.
But like meeting the people, even just chatting to them like on messages and everything, like they
Yeah.
understand what they're doing. And for me, it's like a whole different perspective. It's just like, oh, I don't really have to say anything. But then I remember I have to direct people like Dominic G. Martin Chris Walker Thompson, and I'm like,
Mhm.
you're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great. Please like me. But no, it's going to be an amazing experience. Like that's what I love about this is just like you get thrown into like the deep end when it comes to voice acting, but you also get to have these opportunities to do like just more
Yeah,
amazing things and all these amazing experiences and get to meet amazing people along the way.
I
And I
think
would never go back on it.
I
I
can
absolutely
safely
love it.
say this echo that sentiment like about writing and doing all the projects that I do and being involved with TT. I think it's given me like and even like doing this podcast has given me the chance to like speak to so many brilliant people, you included, of course.
Hmm.
And it's going to all these Comic Cons and BFI, which I've only really done this year. I've been to Comic Cons before and all that, but because of kind of I was afraid to put my face out there at first, but once I did, and I started meeting all these people, it just made the experience so much better. And like, I know I don't really do things in the same style as TT when it comes to like audio
Hmm.
production. I might try one day because it does seem like a great way of
It
like
is so good, so
doing
fun.
some of the bigger projects as well. But yeah, meeting some of the brilliant people that I've met, I'll put it like this: being Rassilon Productions, being who I am now, gives me so much joy. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I
Hmm.
genuinely love being Rassilon Productions, being this. It is the best experience ever, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Yeah, but yeah, onto
Oh, so sentimental. It's like,
mm,
oh, everyone's
yeah.
being sentimental today. I'm like, oh, you're so cute. What's going on?
But yeah, and onto another question actually, and it's kind of like more of a subjective question really, but like, who's been your favorite character to play, and why is it Sticker? Obviously, that audio hasn't come out yet, but of course, Sticker is the best character ever.
Sticker was an accident. No, no, I mean this in the best way. I mean this in the best
Almost
way.
flying
She
from my
was a
chair.
complete and utter accident. Right,
Mm.
so most of the characters that I've done for TT are by nearly all by accident. We either go on a phone call, I'm either on a phone call with Abby
Mm.
or we Zoom and Chelsea just has to open her mouth and say weird things. Like for what was it for Scarlet Lost, whenever I played Clara, I was just being like all hoity toity and she was like,
Mm.
Chelsea, and I'm like, oh. And then for Sticker, I was just sitting there playing around and then I got reminded that whenever I do my Sticker voice, I sound like Tiny from Tots TV. And it's like, so I was just like, Tiny. It's very different from many of the characters I've ever
Mm.
played. So it was just like, all right, my name's Sticker, innit?
Ah.
And again, totally by accident. And then
Mm.
Abby was there and she was like, Chelsea. And I'm like, oh no, I opened my mouth again, didn't I? It's just a recurring thing. And then so she sends messages to Joshua Griggs.
Mhm.
He sends messages to me, and I'm like, no, I do not know what you're talking about. I did not do anything. And then obviously I send a wee voice note, and he's like, right, Chelsea, you're Sticker. And I'm like, oh,
Ah.
because they apparently that's not what Sticker was supposed to be. And then me, I was just like, I can just imagine her dressed up like Oliver Twist, but she doesn't have a front tooth and she has a bit of a lisp. And
Mm.
I was just like, all right, it's me, Sticker.
I can't wait for the world to hear that performance. It was great listening.
Oh,
And
so good. It's
it,
lovely to have a play around with them as well.
I mean that's the thing with all of these organized calls together is that it's so much. You can have a lot of fun with it. It's like there are tons of, not tons, but there are like quite a lot of bloopers here and there, and it's all fun, but very well organized. I find very well
Hmm.
organized. I don't think I've ever like been in an audio production like it. Really, I think we worked with a team that kind of works so well together. With that kind of dynamic and everything,
Hmm.
it's the style of how to do it is very similar to kind of like the official stuff like Big Finish Productions and all that, they kind of do it in a similar way during lockdown. And I think I think it's brilliant. And I love to be a part of more TT Productions future. And I think I am, yeah. So I look
I know
forward
you are.
to
I know you are.
it.
Just not saying nothing. But I know you are. Honestly, like voice acting's so fun. Like you never think, like I wouldn't have thought, like especially with COVID and everything going on,
Yeah.
that was like that's a very isolating time. It was very
Mm.
isolating, and voice acting it was that escape. It was
Yeah.
like, still talking to new people and everything. And especially with people who are far distance away, like seeing TT, you have people from different parts of England, you
Mm.
have people over in America, you have so many people just in all these different places, but they still come together and talk to each other like
Yeah.
nothing's going on. So it's really good. Like it was a good escape and good, like, just having that social time with everybody. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't I wouldn't trade it for the world. I
How
really
was your
wouldn't.
lockdown, by the way? Because everyone obviously experienced it differently, and of course you had voice acting. With it was kind of similar with my stuff, really, because like I didn't know anything about audio production or anything about editing or
Mhm.
anything really, and I kind of just threw myself into it in a way, just on a whim, and I found that I loved it. I found that it was a good like escape because I was good at English, never good at maths. Still, I'm not good at
Same,
maths,
same. It's
but
okay.
I was.
I relate.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. A lot of people don't like maths, and absolutely fair enough. But I was really good at English. I found myself like really like because we had to read like an Inspector Calls, and
Hmm.
Christmas Carol, and I love those books. Didn't really like Romeo and Juliet. Felt it was overrated a bit. Well,
Aye,
studying,
but here you can't deny the wee movie with Leonardo DiCaprio now.
they made us watch that, and I swear, like, because we had to write about Romeo and Juliet, like the actual like play, and a lot of people mistook it, like wrote that it had guns in it and cars and helicopters because of that Romeo and Juliet movie, and it was hilarious. But
I am
that
surrounded by idiots.
but the worst, actually, I'm going on a tangent now. But the worst part of an English GCSE is we had to study 18 poems, and they'd only have two in the exam, and you didn't know which two they were.
I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly how you feel.
My camera is just automatically turned off. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, it was infuriating. Like having like it could be any two items, any two, and
Hmm.
it could completely random. And I can't remember which ones I got, but yeah, that one really annoyed me. And then it turns out they scrapped it a year later because of the pandemic.
Uh,
And the fact that I was last year that I had to go through that really annoys me.
mm.
But yeah, where was I before that? Oh
uh,
yeah,
Lockdown.
yeah, lockdown. And I kind of threw myself into audio production, didn't know anything about it, and I kind of found it, it was nice. And then towards the end of the year, no wait. Oh yeah, it started in 2020. Then it went into 2021. And then like it was in 2021 where I started to like harness what I was good at and
Hmm.
improve. And then it was like towards the end of the year, October, I was on Jack Reeves' community show panel, and that was when
Hmm.
I kind of put my face out there. And for lockdown, it was kind of like it was similar to Ian voice acting. It was very much. It gave me a lot of joy. It gave me something to do.
Hmm.
I wasn't really interested in the creative art side of things before that. But now I'm going to a film and screen
Hmm.
school, so I've it was kind of I found my kind of footing through lockdown,
Yeah.
and I think that was and then yeah, I wouldn't be here without lockdown, which is strange to think about. But yeah, what was your
Hmm.
lockdown like? Because of course you had voice acting, but of course, what was it like in general and stuff like that?
Well, my story is kind of like out of an action movie, I would
Mm.
say. Only a few people know about this.
Mm.
So whenever COVID first came around, I was in university.
Mm.
I was studying music theater, and it was my birthday. My birthday's on the 17th of March, which is a national holiday, St. Paddy's Day
Mm.
over in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I got told I was supposed to go home on the 20th of March,
Mm.
but I got told on the 19th of March that my flight home was cancelled due to COVID.
Blimey.
So I just got an email, literally, I think it must have been it was 1 o'clock. No, it was 1 o'clock in the evening.
Mm.
And I got an email saying that, oh, your flight has been cancelled due to COVID. And I was like, looking at other flights, there was no other flights.
Jeez.
And I was terrified. that I started crying, and I got on the phone to my mum and I was telling her everything, and she's like, Chelsea, I just found out all the flights were cancelled.
Mm,
So there's like a ferry that we can get to Line,
mm,
and we rang them up and we told them our situation. We're like, look, there's only one boat that's going out, and it's going out in a couple of hours. She was like, so she booked me onto that boat, and I literally had less than 45 minutes to pack my clothes into a tiny cabin bag
mm,
locker because that was the only thing I had. Literally just packing my clothes, leaving my uni room a mess, locking my door.
yeah.
And thankfully, somebody let me get a lift over and took me over to the ferry. And I met one of my friends that I've known since like I was 16. And I told her, I was just like, look, our flights have been cancelled. You have to meet me here. So she met me at the thing. We were crying. We got on the boat and I didn't sleep at all that night. And it's like an overnight ferry.
Mm,
So it was just me sitting there pacing on this boat. And it doesn't help. I go outside to just have a wee walk.
yeah.
And there's a guy that's sitting there playing, the Titanic song. And like, and I was like, lad, this isn't the best time. But I couldn't help but laugh. And I was just
Uh,
like, you know what? This is exactly how I feel. And anytime I watch Titanic, I'm just like,
mm.
oh, I just remember this man just playing the violin at the side of the boat. But whenever we got out of the boat, I remember seeing my mum and I ran to her and I was just crying.
Oh,
So
of course.
it was very, very surreal. Very
Mm,
surreal because that was like my uni experience, just almost on pause
yeah.
in the matter of a few hours. And whenever I got home, everything was online. It was online learning. And whenever you're doing a musical theatre course, you have to sing and you have
Mm,
to do dance and you have to do yoga for a class.
mm,
It's and on a laptop. So, I have a house with two other kids and my mum. And so you're trying to find space. So I had to go into the living room and do yoga on a carpet, so much carpet burn and dance.
mm,
It was just, it wasn't great, but we made the best that we could. And I got
yeah.
back to uni 6 months later, or 5 or 6 months later, it was August, and just to try and start the new year. And then you had to go for COVID tests
Mm,
twice a week. So
uh,
starting on a Monday and a Sunday. So we
mm,
did that. It was just part of routine. And then I was still doing voice acting. I was still using my phone, but up to like just over a year now, I have this microphone and I'm, looking to upgrade.
yeah.
But still, it just had everything on pause, everything on pause. And then I finished uni and I passed uni. I have my bachelor's degree, which is a good thing out of it, I suppose. COVID bumped my
Yeah, yeah.
scores up, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But like being back home is just, it's still a weird experience because I only spent, I think, just about a year out on uni physically in a 2-year course,
Christ.
which is
Uh,
crazy.
love it when it does that. But
Love
yeah.
it.
So yeah, so yeah, it's I couldn't imagine going to uni in like COVID. It sounds like
Hmm.
hell. It sounds like it doesn't you just don't get a full experience that way, do you?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Like we didn't get really into like the whole experience itself because I had to go into uni. I had to skip first year because
mm,
I was kind of overqualified, shall I say. I did like my HNC, HND, which is like
yeah.
your first year at uni before. So I
Mm,
had to go into second year and especially meeting a lot of new people as well. It was crazy. And I thought, oh my God,
mm,
I'm at uni. My family's at home and everything. And
mm,
it's just a crazy experience. But again, it does, even though like with the pandemic and everything, it does bring people closer together. But there
yeah.
was so many rules and regulations around our uni because a lot of people got it. But they're
Yeah.
all fine now, like, but a lot of people got it.
Well, I remember because I was going to college at the time. I was at the end of my first year and then throughout my second year. Well, yeah, I did one course which was a level two BTEC, which was like yeah, and then I went into a level three, which was partially because I wasn't very good at maths. And retaking maths during a pandemic,
Hmm.
never
I can
again.
imagine. I can barely do it
Because
like now.
I
Never
mean,
mind during a pandemic.
yeah, I mean, the thing with maths and retaking it is that it just teach you the same things in the exact same way and expect you to get it. Like,
Hmm.
how, if I didn't get it the first time, how am I going to get it the second time? And especially during the pandemic. But I remember the week prior to well, like the day prior to getting into lockdown because I was actually suspended from college, which was something because I was going through
Congrats.
a rebellious phase at the time.
Oh,
Like,
we love a wee bit of a rebel now.
mm, well, I was just a bit of an asshole, really. Well, I say a bit, I
Fair.
was a total asshole at the time. But and then that was I'm kind of glad that happened because, well, for one, it kind of made me realize I wasn't happy in like the course in anything else than I was doing the computing course at the time, which was it came in handy. It comes in handy. But even before that, like I was getting into politics and business, and I don't
Hmm.
know why. But like through that and through lockdown, it kind of I found something that I was actually passionate about, and I ditched the whole rebellious and all that, you know, stuff like that, which I didn't really I regret now, obviously. But yeah, and then I went through lockdown and it was fine at first. And it was fine doing a computing course. But then I went into like creative like media and film. We'd use like a TV
Hmm.
studio and stuff. But throughout the first year, of course, most of the lessons were based at home. So they changed a lot of what the course was. They actually altered a lot of what it was. So instead of doing studio work, we're doing podcast work, which I suppose came in handy for this, of course. But at the
Hmm.
time, it it was very different. And we did live streaming work and stuff like that. But then it got to the point where we'd do like 1 week in college, 1 week at home. Uh, and I just didn't like working at home. It just wasn't. It didn't have the
Hmm.
same energy to it.
Yeah, no, I get
Um,
you. I get it completely.
and yeah, throughout my first year, it was kind of that sort of thing. It was 1 year, one not 1 year at home, but 1 week at home, 1 week in college, and it was quite strange. And there was sometimes bulks of time which we'd go in. And I remember like lockdown because I had to like stand a few feet away from my gran whenever we went for walks and stuff, and it was looking back at it, a completely surreal time. Like
Hmm.
looking like in a few years' time, it'll be even more surreal. Um, it was just completely and utterly surreal. And then like the second year, it kind of died down a bit.
Hmm.
At one point, a family member of mine did get COVID. Well, actually,
Hmm.
I got COVID twice, I think. Well, no, I thought I had COVID at one point, but didn't. And then I actually did get COVID this year. Which wasn't a nice experience. Um,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, and a family member of mine got long COVID, and yeah, that was my dad actually. But on another topic,
Hmm.
apart from that, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Problem with these being unscripted is that I always lose my train of thought.
Yeah.
I always lose where I'm going. But what's your kind of creative process when it comes to like voice acting? Because everyone kind of has their process with everything, and it's kind of what I like asking people about kind of what goes into it, what like their mindset is with each individual character or
Hmm.
writing and everything. And it's kind of like, yeah, so what's your kind of creative process?
Like for me, it always depends on the character.
Mm,
Always depends. Like it depends who I get cast as. Like there for Clara in
mm,
Scarlet Lost. I like obviously I go delve into the script into deep detail just so one I can understand what they're saying, especially
yeah.
because it was like pure Shakespearean speak. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I do not speak that. No, thank you. But yeah, it's all about for me, I go deep into analyzing the script and exactly what they're doing. And like the writers, like Abby and Connor, I can visualize everything that's going on when I read it.
Yeah.
And like for me, I was just like, right, well, if they're doing this, what are they wearing? I like it's like for
Mm,
everything because I did study like performing arts and stuff, I kind of understood, especially with like reading scripts and everything, what the character would look like, what their setting would be, how they would speak, how they
yeah.
would stand. It's just what it's drilled into me. It's just like
Mm.
as a performer is just deep analysis. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the research. I enjoy like having that bit of work. And for different characters and everything, I can usually just come up with them
Mm,
at the top of my head. Like for Clara, I wanted her to have that prim and properness, but she is a very naive character. But I wanted to have her very well dressed, well
mm,
spoken, presenting herself well. But like again, all depends on the character. So like with Molly, I wanted her to have more loose clothes, very childlike as well, but on the age of, like that adolescent
yeah.
type ordeal, like a young adult, really, like during that time anyway.
Mm,
Um, with other characters, I kind of just go with the flow.
yeah.
Like there was a character that I played for Joshua Griggs called Rain,
Mm.
and she was like obviously character in space, and I wanted her to look futuristic as anything. So
Mm.
I wanted her to have kind of like a futuristic hairstyle. So basically, I got a pile of Vaseline. I done a lot of curls and all in my hair and my face.
Mm.
And then I was just like, I'm gonna stick it in a high ponytail, and I want her hair to have like big, like orb bunches because
Yeah.
I have blue hair. I thought it would look pretty cool. So I just got a pile of my mum's tinfoil, scrunched it up, and tied it in my hair. And to be honest, it looked quite nice. But one thing, and I do have to say, sorry to Abby, every single audio that I've done, my hair is digitally altered. So I've had my blue hair, I've had brown hair, ginger hair, blonde,
Because of
black.
course with TT did do a lot of Victorian stuff, and I haven't really seen that many
Ah,
Victorian
and
people with
you don't really have a lot of blue hair people back then.
Mm.
Definitely not. But I do find it fun because it's so fun to see me with different like color hair as well. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you're giving me an idea. Because I don't think I'll be going any natural color anytime soon. So voice acting is quite good that way. I can like look whatever the way I want. Because I'm
Mm.
usually sitting recording in my cow hoodie, to be honest, and I look like an absolute cretin. But it's wild fun. And yeah, it always depends on the character and the story and what happens in the story and how they would look. And like I've been casting a new thing now. It's been
Mm.
recorded, but it hasn't been
Yeah.
out yet. But we are recording with a lovely man called Mart. He's on
Mm.
Twitter. He's great, and he wrote a Last of Us um
Oh, yeah.
episode, and he let I was rock climbing one day because that's a new topic, a new hobby of mine,
Mm.
and I seen his post, and I was just like, man, if this ever happens, I don't care if I'm a named character or I'm clicker number 77. I want to do this. And so he was just like, yeah, I'll actually do it, put out a cast list.
Mm.
And so I auditioned. I went for sure. I came back and I'm playing Ellie now, who's the main
Oh,
girl in The
yeah.
Last of Us. So there was another character, and I do try my best to take my own photos for covers. That's one thing that
Yeah.
I always, nearly 100% time do, is I want to put that more of an effort and kind of more professionalism, really. And it's wild fun as well.
Yeah, and I
So
guess
I
yeah.
literally did a lot of research, getting the
This is kind of
costume.
again injecting yourself into the character again,
Oh
taking your
yeah,
photos for the
100%.
cover. And the one I was in the Scarlet Lost cover, I
Hmm.
just had that outfit with me because I like to wear trench coats and base coats and stuff like that
Well,
all the
there you go.
time. I think it's
Hmm.
I thought perfect for someone from that era. I thought it was,
Yeah.
perfect the character as well. Yeah, it's really admirable to and really just great to kind of inject yourself into that character more by doing the cover work as well. Next question I usually ask people, I don't know how much it applies to voice acting. I imagine it does because you can kind of get it with everything, but it's about burnout and for me it'd be kind of like writer's block, but I
Hmm.
imagine it is pretty prevalent within voice acting as well because it's yeah, how do you kind of handle like burnout and process it and go through it?
Like, see, everybody, I think everybody, regardless of any like job or anything, like, because I do consider this a job. A
Mm.
lot of the work that I
Oh,
do
yeah,
is
yeah.
unpaid work, but I consider it totally as my job and
Mm.
is what I want to do in the long run. But like, everybody gets burnout, whether they are
Yeah.
a writer, director, even voice actor,
Mm.
where you're literally just either sitting on a seat or standing up. You do get burnout. I've had plenty of burnout because you have to think about not only the work that you do, but like what you do outside of that work.
Yeah.
Because for me, I work 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. I work in the shop.
Mhm.
And then on the weekends, I record, or I record after I come in late from work. And you
Yeah.
totally get burnout. But
Oh,
for
of course,
me,
of course.
I always try and for me, there again, I don't see this as like I just see this as like the like a creative thing, as a creative outlet
Yeah, yeah,
that
definitely.
that has been taken away from me since COVID and everything. And because I
Mhm.
can't go and do like stage work or you can't do anything like that I used to really enjoy, this is just
Mm.
another creative outlet. But it's always like, take your time with things, never rush them.
Mm.
But you always have like having a schedule is always a good thing. I always have a schedule throughout my week and I literally text whoever I'm working with and say, look, I'm working this to this. I always have a schedule planned out and you always have to have time to yourself as well because it's a very demanding life, especially when you have a full-time job and you do this as well.
Mm.
Like again, it is a creative outlet for me. It makes me laugh, it makes me cry. I love it. Like it's just something that I never thought I wanted. It started off as a hobby, and
Mm.
then as more and time went on, I absolutely fell in love with it, and I would
Yeah.
never want to go back to what I was doing because I was doing nothing anyway.
Mm.
But yeah, it's always having that time to yourself and always schedule
Yeah.
yourself out properly and just, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're
At the end
like,
of the
it's
day,
always
that's
happening. Take all the opportunities you can and just go for it.
yeah, at the end of the day, that's why most of us do it in the end, is just to have
Yeah,
fun and enjoy it. I think that's
exactly.
my reasoning
Exactly.
behind it. And I'm just, be genuinely passionate about what you do and
Hmm.
you will enjoy everything that you do. And yeah, I very much echo that sentiment in like Burnout. It's very prevalent in every creative
Hmm.
field, literally everything. I mean, any job really. It's mainly, I'd say I've mainly seen it experienced with creatives because it's
Hmm.
quite but then again, it does happen everywhere. So I think
Hmm.
that's very good advice. I think everyone kind of has their individual process, and that's why I like asking that question on this sort of podcast. It's the one that kind of creative process and burnout. Those are the two like ones I kind of because I went through burnout last month, which kind of gave me incentive to ask the question. It's kind of just stuck 'cause it's interesting hearing everyone kind of
Hmm.
echoing their own thoughts and how they process it. I know Connors was kind of just work for it,
Oh
and
yeah.
a few others. They
Like
all
again, he's a machine. He's
he
an
is a
absolute
machine.
machine.
He is a machine. His schedule is insane. But yeah, of course you've done rock climbing. That's of course that's a
Yes.
conversation point right there. What was it kind of like getting into rock climbing and stuff like that?
Um, Happened by accident, really. Everything, why is everything happening by accidents? I don't know what it is. But yeah, it was just like a friend of mine, her mum does it. And oh, I was just like, I'm bored. Can I try?
Yeah.
And like I have no issue with heights, but I do have a fear. I have a fear of balloons. Don't laugh.
Ah.
Nobody laugh. It's a very irrational fear. I know. Like I'm not afraid of anything else. Like see,
Mm.
like spiders, snakes, heights. Nah. And
Yeah.
it was always something that I seen people do, and I was just like, oh, I want to try it. And I did. And it was just like that, just, it's like something that makes your mind go blank
Mm.
as well. It's like an activity that you never thought that you'd be part of, but then you're like, oh, I love it. But then afterwards, you get burned, you get sore
Yeah.
legs and everything. You're like,
I mean, I could never rock climb as a kid. I learned gradually more as an well, just climbing in general. But and I mean,
mhm.
you mentioned a fear of balloons. I kind of had a fear of balloons growing up. It was linked to
Oh,
another fear because it was specifically red balloons, and it was a fear of clowns.
have you
Uh,
oh man.
it was
No, I don't
because
want
of
fear clowns. It's just the balloons.
it was a fear. That fear for me kind of started because it was the balloons were heavily part of it because it was this Sarah Jane Adventures episode named Day of the Clown starring
Uh-huh.
Lee Walsh as Oddjob, which
Mm-hmm.
fucking terrified me. Because there were like scenes where the balloons would control people. He'd appear and like his face would. Mm, that was completely terrifying.
Yeah.
I could never like
So,
be alone in a school again after that. And like I was in
oh,
primary school at the time. And like, because like there were scenes with the clown just odd job just in like the school with like, and there was a mirror scene where I'd be holding a balloon, and he was like on one half mirror but not on the other side. Like the
Hmm.
Clyde was standing on the other side of the mirror, and he reached out with the balloon out of the mirror to try and hand it
Hmm.
to him. Fucking terrified me. Uh,
See, that's the thing. A lot of people there, like, you can't see them, like, you just
mm,
can't because you always feel awkward and feel like,
mm,
oh, I'm scared. But,
mm,
like, see, for me, if I see a balloon on TV, that's grand.
mm,
I'm all right with that. I can look at them. But whenever I'm with them in person, nah, honestly, you'll see
mm.
like a trail of smoke from me, like, running away. Like,
Mm,
honestly, it's like, I just can't be near them. It's just from like a since a child, I just didn't like. I think I found one photo of me as a child with a balloon in
mm,
my hand, and I was just like, nah, not gonna
mm.
happen today. And like, it's just like everybody has their fears and
Oh
everything.
yeah, 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 definitely.
Like
Mhm.
for me, I'm not gonna go near them because I found out that I was allergic to them in my later
Oh,
years. So I'm like, haha, I have actually a genuine excuse not to go near them, and I'm like, yes, the world has actually sided with me. So I don't have to go near them. But I just find like everybody has a fear.
Mm,
I don't think there's anybody who doesn't have a fear or something that makes them unsettled or feel uneasy.
yeah.
Some people fight through it, some people don't.
I mean, at
But
the end of the
it's
day,
kind of just part of who you are, really.
I don't really think it's anything to be fought, really, because at the end of the day, fear is kind of a survival. It's there to
Hmm.
help us survive. Without fear,
Yeah.
we wouldn't, we wouldn't be here pretty much. We'd have been extinct ages ago. I think there's something, and I don't think any of us would be creatives without fear. I think there's a
Hmm.
huge element of fear into like going into what we do and considering, going in different directions in what we do. And uh I think there's always that fear with it, but I think it doesn't really hinder anyone. I don't think it
Hmm.
hinders us in like the creative field. I think it can very much inspire and, fighting through it in a way that forwards us can be,
Hmm.
I think there's
It's what
that's
makes us human at the end of the day.
mm, yeah, I think it's there's a quote from Doctor Who actually that I really like that's can't remember the exact quote, but it's like it's about bravery and it's like bravery isn't about not being afraid, it's about being afraid and doing what you have to do anyways. I think that's
Hmm.
very much I think that's very much a sentiment that applies to creative, you know, voice acting and directing and audio production. I think without fear we wouldn't have any of those. So it's
Hmm.
great. And you mentioned heights. I mean, I haven't really brought this up on podcast yet, or like I've done a video on it because it was a video, but I went skydiving recently, which was fun. Got the certificate here, which is quite
Oh
mm,
man. Oh,
no.
that's something I would always love to do.
It was amazing. It genuinely was, and it wasn't at the end of the day. It wasn't terrifying. I think because a lot of people would think that even if you're
Hmm.
not afraid of heights, it's going to be scary. But it really wasn't because they reassured you so much to the point in which you couldn't be scared.
Hmm.
And it was unparalleled. It was genuinely an amazing
Yeah, it's
experience.
something unworldly, I guess.
Mm,
It's just
yeah.
something amazing. Like that's one thing. People should just try these amazing
Mm,
experiences because you only have one life. You
oh,
might
for
as well
sure.
go for it when you have like the age and when you have the
Mm,
strength to do it. You just might as well.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's partially the reason I ran up to Ian McKellen because nobody else
There you go.
like around him there. But I think it was like I met Christopher Eccleston in 2021, and like he was I've told the story quite a few times on the podcast, but something that's so influential to me because there was a moment where I was so anxiety driven and so like no, should I go up to him? Like he was walking
Yeah.
off. Someone next to me just said go for it, and I ran as fast as I could. And from then on, it kind of just I don't really think about it. I just go,
Hmm.
I think if like you have an experience or you want to meet someone or you want to do something, I think that's one thing my dad taught me as well, is just say what the hell and go for it. It was one of the
Hmm.
main things he taught me in life, and I've always lived by it. Uh, yes, just say what the hell and go for it. And I wouldn't be
Yeah,
making audios if I
exactly.
didn't apply that logic to life either. And yeah, I imagine rock climbing is really fun. I've
Hmm.
never done it. I've never actually like done rock climbing before. I've, played in like the climbing things you do in like the gym and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been on those. Couldn't handle it as a kid, so I don't think I could do rock climbing. But I would like to try it one day. I think it'd be fun. quite
You definitely should. If you
mm,
ever have the opportunity, just go for it.
I've abseiled.
That's
I've done abseiling,
oh.
which was really fun. I did it for charity down local college around my
Mhm.
area, and I couldn't handle it. But not couldn't handle it. I mean, I couldn't like get my legs straight, and I couldn't actually do it. I was just sliding down the building, which was just as fun, really. But yeah, I've got a video of like my parents shouting up to me like use your legs, and I just couldn't. I don't know why.
Here, that has happened to me the first time I went. Whenever I was going down the rock, they were just like, right, keep your feet wide apart and just, either push yourself off the rock or walk down.
yeah.
I forgot my legs were attached to my body, and there is a photograph of me with literally my legs past my head because I forgot that my legs were attached to my body and I had to move them. And I
Mm.
just had the person who was like lowering me down laughing, and I was laughing back, and I was like, "Stop laughing! You're going to drop me!" And they're like, "Well, move your legs, short arse." And I was like, "All right." But it's just a wild, fun experience. Everybody just has to experience something that they
Yeah.
think they can't do or they, just want to try. Just go for it.
Yeah,
You never
exactly.
know what could happen. You never know what could happen. Like if I didn't have that chance with voice acting, I don't know what I'd be doing right now.
Mm.
Prob Probably nothing useful anyway. But
Yeah, me
honestly,
neither
it's
if it
just like
wasn't for
you
audio.
just have to go for things.
Mm.
You just have to go for things, even if you think that they're way too big for you or you're out of your depth whenever you go in or you have no experience. Just go for it.
Yeah.
You only have one life. You might as well just go.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
go.
Yeah. And but yeah, of course we've as I said, been in a few productions together.
Mhm.
You've primarily been in Overton stuff with at first, for the first 6 years. And yeah, we've talked about Doctor Who occasionally, but of course you're not a huge like nerd like me on the show.
I am the
Like
most
million of
non
like Doctor Who
who
stuff.
who. I'm the most non who about. That's what anybody ever says about me. The only things I do know are Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. And I know
Mm.
it's going to break some people's hearts, but I'm sorry. I don't know anything else. And like anybody who talks about Doctor Who or
Mm.
this, and I'm like, what's that? Oh, a Doctor Who thing? All right, never mind. It's all
As
right.
perfectly understandable. I mean, but would you say you've kind of learned more about the show through like Overton and TT, or
Oh, of course.
yeah, I
Of
mean, you
course.
doing it for
I'm
the
just like, oh, I can now identify different types of creatures now. I'm like, oh,
mm,
I know what that is. It was in this episode, or I know this because somebody was talking about it.
mm,
Like, see, before, didn't have a notion. Still don't have a notion half the time, but I can, I can pick up bits and pieces.
mm. And so like for it, like of course you did it over the phone with like Connor, and you just like because you were friends with Connor anyways. But and what was it kind of like getting into that kind of because of course although it's a fan thing, of course, because all this is fan stuff. What was it kind
Hmm.
of like stepping into that world anyways? Because it is everyone pretty much knows it anyway. But what was it kind of like stepping into like that kind of role and that kind of you know, yeah.
Like, at first, whenever I started doing it, I didn't think, like, I wouldn't have thought if you would have asked me 6 years ago that I would be doing this and doing the things that I'm doing, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I wouldn't have a clue. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my future. All I knew
Mm.
is that I wanted to be in the performing arts industry.
Yeah.
And like, whenever I was going through my education, I studied how to do lights and sound for stage for 4 years. So I always thought, I still think that that would be something that I would love to do. I have a
Mm.
passion for it because I like to make things look pretty on stage.
Yeah.
But like with this, it's like a whole other ball game. It's
Mm.
like acting on stage without the stage, but you have a platform instead.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought I would have loved it as much as I have now. And
Mm.
I like that's why I have to thank Connor for and Connor, if you're watching this. Like
No,
I know
most
for a
definitely
fact
is
that he
watching.
is. And I had literally have to thank him so much because he was the one that took literally just said, "Do you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Ah, go for it." But
Mm.
he was the one who just got me all into it, showed me what to do, how to read scripts, like for
Mm.
audios and everything. And I wouldn't be here without him. I really wouldn't. I
Mm.
wouldn't have met the amazing people that I have And then like I met the TTers for doing a Venus Flint script
Yeah.
with Luke Lane and Joe Weddings. And it was only because like I wasn't well, I was casting it, but I wasn't written in yet.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there and they were just doing a wee script read. I literally was on mute just listening to them. I absolutely adored doing that. I
Mm.
just love listening to scripts and
Yeah.
listening to people go through it, mumble up and everything. But like it was only because at the very end I was like, "Oh, this is class, lads," or
Mm.
something very Irish, and then Abby was like, "You're Irish," and I'm like, "Yep, Irish and
Yeah.
proud." And that is literally how she cast me, because she
Mm.
met me and I was a girl who was Irish,
Mm.
and then it was all due to that. So I'm really thankful for the people that have helped me along the way and
Yeah.
have made me realize that this is something that I want to go and do for a very, very long time. As long as my voice lets me do it, then I will do it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, one great thing about you being Irish and knowing Irish people in general is they actually know how to say my name at first sight, which is always great.
Rory.
Yep,
Yes.
that's
I was just
me.
like, how do you say your name? I was like, it's Rory. It's
Mm.
Rory.
Yep, yep, I remember
Right.
that
It was
well.
me and Aiden. Me and
Mm.
Aiden, we were like,
Yep,
oh my
you
God,
Aiden.
another Irish person. He doesn't speak like an Irish person. Oh, well, his name's Rory anyway. Hooray.
Yep. I mean, I'm part Irish, on my dad's side, mainly Welsh on my dad's side though, and Scottish on my mum's side. So I kind of got that
Yes,
whole
you're
the whole
a
like.
like a pick and mix of everything, aren't you?
Yep, yeah, pretty much. But
I'm just Irish. That's
mm,
all I know.
I mean, yeah, I haven't been to Ireland yet. Actually, I really need to because I've been to Scotland, I've been to Wales. Really need to go to Ireland. Just yeah,
Right,
it'd be
so we're
really
going to
nice.
schedule a wee trip. So we are after this.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I've always wanted to do more of. Talking about things that I, gotta do. I mean, travel. That's probably the main thing. I mean, it was kind of like skydiving, travel. That's my bucket list, and I've
Hmm.
kind of just done skydiving now. So
Well,
on to
there you go.
travel next.
That's it.
Mm.
That's absolutely it.
Yeah. So unless there's anything else to yeah, I suppose yeah, I guess yeah, we should. I never know how to wrap these things up. Oh, perfect timing after running out of time
And
here,
there,
man.
a wee timer.
But yeah, it's
Well,
been really nice having you on the show anyway. It's been really nice
oh,
talking
thank
to
you.
you as always, and I look forward to the next time we're on a TT production, of course,
Oh, definitely.
and
100%.
I definitely want to sneak onto Overton one day, whether it's writing or
Oh, you will. I will
character. I
say
think
to Connor, I was just like, Connor, I
I'll
have
do
another person for you.
yeah, it's
But honestly,
mm,
absolutely love this. It's quite fun. I
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
love it. Like I've done a talk with TT and I have done
mm,
a
yeah,
talk with
yeah. I've
you.
seen their
Great.
conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't checked them out yet because I know I'm bringing on a few people from it. I don't really want to, because I want to
Spoil
bring
anything.
my own questions. Don't want to
Mm-hmm.
spoil it with each guest, and I feel like I'd be too influenced by other
Yeah.
things. But yeah, it's been lovely bringing you on the show, and it's lovely talking to you
Oh,
as
thank
always.
you.
And yeah, if there's anything you want to promote, any shout outs you want to give, just go ahead.
Okay, first shout out to Overton Audios. They are on YouTube and they are on Twitter and SoundCloud. They are amazing. Honestly, the most amazing people. They have a lot of people working for them, especially for like, the soundtracks and everything.
Mm.
And Connor works his socks off. So shout out to Connor and Dan for the amazing like artwork that he does for the covers and everything. Shout out to the all amazing people that work in it and the people that I've worked with and for TT Productions. Like there's so much that I could say about all of them. But honestly, if you haven't checked out their stuff, please check it out. My name is Chelsea Lagan, and I voice Molly and Clara. I voice the Toy Maker in the Queer Doctor series, which is amazing. Check that out as
Oh yeah,
well.
definitely check that out. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
have a plethora of characters, and I'm sure there's more to come. But honestly, without these people, I wouldn't have met the amazing people that I have met now and that I, consider friends and really close friends.
mm.
And I wouldn't have met you to do all this lovely interview. And it's quite fun. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I really love doing all of them really, and it's really fun just talking to people that I haven't, because of course I've talked to you in the past, but I haven't really talked to you extensively like this, and it's really
Yeah.
just nice to get because it's usually in like group Zooms and everything, and or Zencast. It's really nice to just talk. It's just really nice, and Yeah, I feel like it's quite it's an easy formula to kind of run by because it's just chatting really. I mean, there's no scripts,
Yeah,
no editing
definitely.
to an extent, and yeah, it's really fun because it not only gives like me a chance to talk to people, but it kind of gives an insight into the guest and myself whenever I do these, and it gives yeah, it's really just really fun. It's been lovely having you on the show, and it's been lovely
Mm,
talking to you.
thank you, my darling. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, make sure to everyone watching subscribe to my channel. So I'll leave a like and yeah, check out all the shout outs. They'll be in links in the description. And yeah, thanks for coming on the show. All
Well,
right,
thank you for having me, my darling.
yeah, bye bye everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.